Right. Hey, Robbie.
Okay, the line.
We're good to go. Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everybody, and welcome from the deep south. I'm in Invercargill of all places today, so it's great to have the capacity to zoom in, and I appreciate the tolerance of doing it that way. I think this is our second committee meeting as the Assurance, Risk and Finance meeting, but it's my first as chair, where we're dealing with a really important topic of grant allocations. And I think it's clear for us all that we're oversubscribed and for all worthy causes. And so we have a reasonable decision-making session in front of us. But I'm also conscious that we have a good number of the applicants in front of us. So it'd be great and a welcome to them and a chance to hear the background to their application. So it is tremendous both to committee members and also to the public to be here. I appreciate your time. Look, just a couple of housekeeping matters, particularly to members of the public. It's always embarrassing for a member to forget to turn the cell phone off, but if I would encourage public to do so as well, that's really helpful. As you may have guessed, I was just waiting on Amy to start the meeting because we do live stream the meeting. It's an open meeting, and I think that's good. Amy, you probably need to really point out the two doors people go out if there's an emergency, but they've got the green exit sign, the one you came in, I think the one down to Amy's left and behind Jan. Look, I'm making an assumption we're all under good behaviour, and I hope that we can maintain our decorum. The start would be with our karakia, and I wonder if all members would like to join me in just saying the karakia, please. Kia hora te marino. Kia whakapapa panamu te moana. E huarahi mā tātou I te ringanei. Aroa atu. Aroa mai. Tatu I katoa. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Bind us all together. A very appropriate point. Now, I presume we have some apologies, Amy. We haven't got a full muster here, so I presume there are some apologies for us today.
No, we have a full complement.
Oh, we have a full complement of the committee. Brilliant. Oh, that's great. Sorry, my mistake. Brilliant. So there's nothing. Look, it's not unnatural in the situation, particularly when we have grant applications for members to have interests. Are there any matters of interest that we need to note, declare, and consider?
Bruce, we've got one apology from Councillor Woodcock.
Right. Okay. Well, if I go back to the item, can we? I move from the chair and somebody second that we sustain that apology. Do I have a seconder, please?
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? It's carried. Thank you. Any matters of interest people need to raise with the applications in front of us? None? Great. Thank you very much. Right, so we're into the core of the agenda, which clearly the key is firstly that we have a chance to hear from the various applicants which have requested to do it. But Robin, I just wonder if there's any key matters that you would like to raise for the committee before we invite the list of people to appear in front of us, please, Robin.
So through you, Chair, Christine Horn, the application isn't eligible, so that's been removed from the pack in the list. So if we have a list, we won't be hearing from them. There are some shuffling arounds of the people attending, depending on capacity to attend, but other than that, normal shuffling around and speakers that would be.
So look, Robin, I assume that most of my members are well used to our program, but here it's to hear the people. We're allocating roughly 5 minutes, and you are the timekeeper, please, Amy. It would be helpful for all of us to keep to good form. I'd invite the members of the public who are here to support and speak to their application. A short nutshell of the application, please. I'd like to suggest no more than about 2 minutes. It's a bit of a speed dating process. and members, then I'd like to invite you to inquire, raise questions if you wish to over the application. But we have a few to get through. So Amy, if you could do the honour of just keeping us up to scratch, I'd appreciate that. So, Robin, I wonder if you could just introduce each of our speakers and lead the process, please.
So this is Robbie Taylor from the Featherston Memorial RSA. To speak.
Yeah.
Great.
Welcome, Robbie. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you. So in addition to the written application, I guess highlight a few things. First, that the RSA is a multi-purpose building in Featherston. It houses the military artefacts that have been handed down by multiple families in our communities for us to look after and present. It's a place of commemoration, and it's a community building. And just fortunate that it's the day before Anzac Day, where tomorrow we'll have a lot of people coming in after commemorating to socialise. So what we're requesting is some upgrades to the building, specifically some of our doors and windows that are the original 70s, mainly to keep out the heating. We just installed heat pumps, so we want to make that efficient and keep the heat in. It's also inaccessible at the moment. We've got a ranch slider that has a massive lip on it, so we're thinking of replacing it, having it flush to the ground, you know, that sort of thing. So and also keeping the noise in. It's all single glazed at the moment. So I guess the main thing I wanted to cover though is I see in the agenda that there is approximately $32,000 of $75,000 of applications, and I'm sure they're all causes. But I guess speaking on ours, first we weren't allocated last round, and I don't think we were allocated funding. I think last time might have been 2019, 2020. But we had to give that money back because we didn't end up using it for the purpose as we applied for replacing the roof. The RSA is a great place, but it's also a neglected building. And what we're asking for is quite economical in the sense that, you know, new windows and doors will last, 40, 50 years. And I see that as good value for money. In terms of the overall project, we're only requesting 10%. So this is a long-term and large-scale project. A lot of it from our own fundraising, other funding agencies. And then I guess the last point is that we've accounted for some, not getting all the grants we apply for. So we can scale our project back or delay the timeline. So, if there is a limited budget, we are happy for a smaller amount than applied. That will get us some part of our project done. And then I guess the last thing is that we are a charity. We give back to the community, and the building is our main asset, our only asset really. And we think we need to protect it. And without it, we might go the same way that many RSAs around the country have gone: loss of membership, loss of the physical building, and a loss of presence in the community. So we think it'd be a huge shame in a town that's has a significant military history. But I don't think that's going to happen. We're just asking for your help to prevent that. So thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate the succinctness of your comments, and you certainly covered off particularly my interest, or my concern, my question, which was how much is the RSA contributing to the total program? And obviously you're talking about $100,000 type project for which this grant would cover 10%. So thank you for that. Members, do we have questions for Robbie, please? Yes, Kay.
Thanks, Robbie, for that presentation. And I know that the RSA does a great service to the community and things like that. But I'd wonder if you just mentioned a little bit on, the struggle for survival for these types of organisations. Just wondered how you were going with numbers of members and, how that is working and what you're doing to keep that going, other than getting the building done up?
Yeah, I think we're doing quite well. Last year, I think we had a net increase of 100 members. So that was from 200 previous year to almost 300. We often, during the renewal period, we have a slight dip where people, are a bit slow to pay, but we usually get back up. So we have been increasing. I think when I first joined the committee, we were at 100 and something members. So I think we've almost doubled since then. So we're going well in terms of membership. We have got a lot of sponsorship going now. So, we just try to, I guess, get more in terms of income. So I think that's doing well in terms of the general operations, but a lot of these bigger projects, I think we're relying more on the grant funding.
And would a lot of the revenue you make, with that, anyone can go there, don't you? Don't have to be a member. So would you make quite a lot of revenue from people who just go there because you have meals and drinks and things like that, don't you?
So yeah, we don't run the hospitality part of that. We lease out the building
Oh, right.
for a third party to do all of that. So we don't make any money on food, drinks, or anything like that.
But you get some money,
Yep,
at least, yeah.
And I think 90% of that goes to some of our member benefits and then operating costs.
All right.
So money left over for these bigger projects it would take a long time to save up from that.
Yeah. Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Colin.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. You mentioned a couple of things in your speech. One is that the building itself is community owned. Well, it's not. It's the RSA's. They own that. That's their possession. And the other thing, I guess, I have to question is the commercial venture within the RSA. I have to say, Featherston's very fortunate. We'd have a very good leaseholder who leases and runs Waimari, which is their obviously our place to go to a large extent. And it's a very successful little business, and I accept that you don't get revenue other than the lease for that. You've also undertaken a lot of fundraising of recent for specific projects around here. So I guess my question to you is that while you may have not received a grant in the last round, and you're asking, I think, for $10,000 in this particular term, you can see how subscribed we are substantially. You haven't specifically mentioned what you would use that grant for, other than some leveling of doors and a few other things here. I wonder if you could just perhaps highlight something. If you were to get 50% of that or 10% of that, 10,000, how would you use that money? Would that go into a pool? Yeah, to assist you.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion. I didn't mean community owned. I meant we are a building for the community, open for free use.
Yeah.
In terms of the funding, so what we've got quotes for so far is the replacement of the doors, single glazed doors and windows, and the installation, which works out to about $30,000.
Okay.
I've also got quotes to fix some of the underflooring, and place the carpet, which is again about $30,000. And I'm still seeking quotes for other parts. In terms of what we would do if we get less than that money, or even if we get the full amount, it would go towards a pool of other grants we're going for. And the main one is the DIA community facilities thing, which we need a third of our own, or third of that money before we apply in September.
Okay.
So it'd go towards that.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it.
Question, Bruce.
Yes, Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. Can you just go back to the roofing comment that you made, that you received funding for the roofing, but you gave the money back? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so we applied for $5,000, I think, in 2019 or 2020. And the purpose was to replace the roof.
Yeah.
Once we got the money and we had someone further look at it and give their expertise, they said it doesn't need replacing, you could actually fix it and repair it. So because the purpose we had the money was to replace, we said we told the council we don't actually need that purpose, so we had to give it back.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Folk, I feel probably time's up. Robbie, that's been very helpful, and I do appreciate the clarity with which you have made your presentation. So thank you for that. We obviously have got a few to get through and then we deliberate. So thank you for that. And obviously you're welcome to stay, or clearly we'll be communicating what our decisions are. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Robin, can you invite the next speaker up, please?
Yes. So Chair of the committee, so from Kirinui College Adventure Racing Team, we have Mr. Whiteman and who's going to tell us about the project.
Welcome to the meeting, you folk, and appreciate your time here. Again, if you give us a quick snapshot of the application, and I'll invite members to raise questions. Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah, don't be so worried. We're all people.
So Ursula's going to give a little bit of a rundown on the sport itself, just in case people aren't aware of things, and then she'll.
I'm Ursula and I'm a year 9.
I'm going really well. You're going, sit your time.
Yeah, okay, I'll speak on behalf. Okay, Ursula Wyman, she's a year 9 student at Kirinui College, and for the first time ever, the Kirinui College has an adventure racing club. So adventure racing is a team sport of 2, 3 or 4 people, depending on the race. Teams can be mixed or single gender. Teams use a map and compass to navigate a course of checkpoints and activities. There are no GPS or devices allowed. So it's a wholesome outdoor sport. 2 weeks ago, their club of 8 travelled to the Go for 12 college adventure race in Hawke's Bay. At this event, there are 3-hour, 6-hour and 12-hour events. As it was their first event, they competed in the 3-hour race in pairs. The skills they were tested in was navigation, knots, high rope, survival techniques, fire lighting, teamwork, fitness, memory games, and orienteering. Ursula and Talia won the girls category.
Oh, yeah.
We hope that our involvement in the sport will inspire others to get into the outdoors and take advantage of local features like the Rimataka Rail Trail and Skyline Challenge. We are applying for funding to help pay for safety equipment, skills training, and future event costs. We're currently selling raffles and have other funding applications in progress, and we're also planning sausage sizzles, bake sales, and business sponsorship. We hope that you are able to help support these keen young outdoor enthusiasts, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that. And Ursula, welcome to the meeting as well. I didn't catch your name before, but congratulations on your win the other day in Hawke's Bay. That's tremendous to hear. Members, do we have questions for Mr. Whiteman or Ursula?
Sorry, I do down the end.
Yes, Melissa, thank you.
Ursula, can you tell me what is your favourite thing about this sport?
Like being outside because I get bored easily.
That's awesome.
Good reason.
Okay, Colin.
Just a quick question about the number of students that are actually involved in.
Yes, so there's 8 at this stage.
Yep.
And it was sort of put out to the by the sports department who was interested, and 8 came up, which is a nice tidy number because in the bigger races it's teams of 4. So yeah, it's a start, but sort of the feeling and part of why we're here is that it's hard to compete with rugby and soccer and hockey and so on like that. It's sort of an emerging sport, certainly in the Wairarapa, very big in other colleges.
Sorry, is this the first year
Yeah.
of the sport in the college?
Yeah.
Cool.
So next year, that Go for 12 event, the plan is hopefully to do at least the 6-hour race. Some of the older kids may be able to do the 12-hour, and we're hoping to sort of spark a bit of interest and get some more involved. So, yeah.
Excellent. Right. Wish they
Thank
had
you for
all ones there.
Are there any other questions, please? Thank you for that. Look, and thank you, Ursula and Mr. Whiteman, for your time. I appreciate your time here this morning. That's tremendous. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, from the United River Trust, we have Lisa. Just so when Lisa could so just come down and sit down here amongst, so we obviously so Bruce can see you.
Kia ora, Bruce.
Kia ora, how are you from a distance? Welcome to the meeting, and please feel welcomed, and also we'll be keen to hear the nutshell or the background to your application, please.
I am one of the co-founders of Divine River, and we started back in 2019 with a project that we ran out of Kirinui College, and then we founded as a charity in 2020. and then we were fortunate enough to get some funding from multiple sources, but also from South Wairarapa Council back in too. And so what I've done with this sort of handout today is just give you a sort of an overview of the kind of headline things of impacts we've had across the South Wairarapa in that time in terms of number of workshops that we've run and the kind of activities we've done around nurturing sustainable personal choices, and engaging with the community and giving them skills and products and having conversation really around sustainability and also their own personal well-being of Liku. So that kind of is hopefully what this document show you. And so our goal is really to develop within the community confidence, connection and creative skills to make things, and those sort of traditional skills that we've perhaps lost along the way, of how to make our own personal care items. We started with eco period pads and looking at kind of all the personal well-being elements around that, but also how making positive sustainable choices can help the earth and help us and all elements of our well-being. And with that's evolved over time into other personal care products and we've been community led by that in terms of that feedback loop that we've had through those workshops in schools and in the community to develop those other workshops and products, if you see, that we've produced over time. And that keeps evolving through those workshops within schools.
Thank you for that. Yes, Melissa.
Pass hand down the end. Could you please speak a little more around the sort of relieving poverty aspect and the provision of particularly the reusable sanitary pads to those who wouldn't be able to otherwise afford them?
Yeah, so we've been really fortunate with getting both funding, but also community actually donating reused like towels that, perhaps are past their best, you won't have them in your bathroom, but can be used in the making of the product. And the idea is that you give through the workshops, the individuals, all the volunteers get the skills to learn to make these products, and then either make them for themselves or with the volunteers we meet usually most Saturdays to make them, and then we gift them alongside the Ikura project in schools now, which is the government free period products in schools, and we put in alongside that where we go in and run workshops. We gift the products that have been made, so the youth and the tamariki have choice about whether they use disposable, which is creating waste, or they choose to use the eco period products, and then they can come to community workshops to make that themselves, or we've gone into schools, we've been into we've done multiple workshops where a number of made those products themselves. So that kind of, does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, Colin.
Very quickly, you spread yourself Wairarapa wide?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, okay, that's.
But in terms of the funding that we've had from South Wairarapa, it's been utilised in South Wairarapa.
I just see a couple of your trustees on there, Rebecca and Dale.
Dale, yeah.
Which is
well, I live in Carterton.
Oh, there you are.
Dale, I work at Carterton School as well as around
right.
And Dale is on the board of Carterton School, and so he was there. And then I got involved with Rebecca because she used to be part of Shift Foundation,
right. Yeah.
And we did some sort of work together.
Fantastic.
And then she came on our board, and Sean Patterson has been a friend for a very long time, and she's been a mentor too.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions for with this application? Yes, Kate.
Yeah, thank you for that's it. Yeah, I was reading about it. I thought that was very interesting. I just interested a bit in your orientation towards foods and such things. Just so with your products, like the lip balms and things like that, what do you wouldn't use petroleum jelly? And
No, and that's exactly well, so for the ingredients for the lip balm, they're 3 types of oil. So we use jojoba oil, sweet almond oil, and castor oil. And then we use shea butter and natural beeswax. So it's showing again, and then we have handouts that we give to the participants that explain where those ingredients come from and why they're important to have a mix and what they do for our bodies, but also the fact that all of those ingredients can go back to the earth without causing any harm.
also not going to the body.
And not go into the body and cause any harm. Yeah, and that's the whole body and environment, it helps both elements, but also you actually can make these things more cost effectively for yourself than going out and buying synthetic chemicals. So it's enabling and giving opportunity for people to provide for themselves in a really healthy and positive way.
Oh, that's very positive.
Thank you very much. I sense probably the questions have been asked. Members. Look, thank you, Lisa, for your time. That's very, again, we're grateful for the clarification, elucidation of where it's at, and obviously you're part of the consideration this morning. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robin.
The Chair, Committee, from Cobblestones Museum in Greytown, on behalf of Joseph Gilliard, we've got Graham Gray. Graham.
Welcome, Graham, to the meeting. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the opportunity, Mr. Chair. Okay, I've got lots of paper, but mainly so I can answer questions if you ask them. But I assume you all have read the application which was presented by my co-chair, Joseph Gilliland. He's actually our source of funding person for grants and everything else, but he couldn't make it here today, so I'm standing in. So I won't go add on. Well, I'll expand on what he's presented, and hopefully you will read it. So going on from what he's presented, as of 18 months ago, we employed an administrator called Julie, and at this time last year, when we do our budgets and look at our whole financial package, we took the step of employing her for the winter months, 7 days a week. It was a huge step. Out of the 4 months that we call our winter months, we did have 3 months of those of small losses, but she did an enormous amount of work and bringing in visitors through the summer months. So it was a growing period through there. We have traditionally applied to the council in the past for $20,000, and that is why we put that figure in again. This time we missed out on the round back in September through to misunderstanding, and so I know it's a huge chunk of the amount available. So any amount would be a great help. So I'll just explain, because Joseph has sent you financials, and you might be a little bit, I think we're really quite financially viable, which we are, but we have periods where we really struggle. So on our current account, as of yesterday, we have $28,000 in there. On the projects account, which is an account that we apply for funding for to do our projects to keep growing the museum, well, changing the museum. You can't have a static museum. It's got to be continually changing. So we're always doing improvements. And so we have a current balance there at 31,000. We have a Rapid Saver account that is a Pacific account. We have a major project we've been working on for about 6-7 years, which is the last big project the museum will be able to undertake, because we don't want to take up any more green space because it's so much used by the community. And so that amount of $10,000 and the $81,000 now has actually grown to 131,000, that's all raised money towards the project, which is 500,000. At this stage, we've got to the point where we've got an application into Heritage lottery applications under the Heritage section. And if we are able to get our full funding there, that project will be underway in the next 3 months or so. That's going to make a huge difference to the whole display and the whole operation of the museum. And then the other account, which is a term deposit account, which is 26,000. That was a fund that we set up from the surplus of money that we had when we did the huge projects of the entrance building. And that we decided to set that aside as what we call our rainy day fund. We have two very big expenses through the year, which we've of course got to cover, and one is our rates at this last year at $11,000. Okay, that's paid over 4 times a year, but each month it's quite a draw on our finances. The other one is our insurance, which is a bulk payment of $12,000. That comes in November, which is just the start of our summer months. The others is all running costs. There's very few expenditures that we actually can have control over. There's only about 6 or 7 of them that we can pull back on our expenditure. There is so much of it is just fixed costs.
I wonder, Graham, if we can perhaps just draw to conclusion. I'm just conscious of time and fairness to other applicants. It's been very helpful. But look, can you just clarify, this is for operational funding? You mentioned big projects, etc., but this is operational funding, and you've noted the administrator. This is the primary reason that you're applying for the $20,000.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Good. Committee members, is there anything you'd like to ask Graham? Yes, Colin.
Thanks for presenting, Graham. I appreciate the fact that you weren't considered in the last round for some reason. Instantly, I think there was a memorandum of understanding that you were led to believe that it rolled over, which obviously it didn't.
Yes.
Now, it would be fair to say that this council over a generation has funded cobblestones to some extent with a considerable amount of money, would it not?
Yes.
Yes. So, and you very much with the view of operating on your own as a standalone unit, and ultimately that's been one of the drives of Cobblestones Museum to do just that. Is that?
Yes.
Yes. The importance, I guess, is the fact that Cobblestones doesn't just represent Greytown with its early history; it represents the South Wairarapa with its early history. So
that's the correction there, Colin. It's actually a regional museum.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Yes. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that it is a regional museum. So
very much so.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, something that that councillors need to understand, is the fact that it is a little more than just a Greytown attraction. So
yes, yeah, we have items in there from Marsden, from Cardiff.
Yeah. You're asking for 20K, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
Yes, Martin.
Graham, thanks for that. Where are you at with the lease for the Greytown Lands Trust? Has that been resolved as yet?
Yes, we have a new lease. Started as November last year.
Yeah.
And that is for 99 years.
Okay. And it was a satisfactory outcome for Cobblestones.
Yes.
That's great.
That's well done.
Yeah.
Yes, Kay.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. It's just interesting too. I know you've received quite a lot of funding from Eastern Central Community Trust in the past. Are they still active in funding you?
No, they've changed their whole criteria of how they're funding, which completely cuts us out.
Oh, gosh, okay. That's sad.
There's another organisation too that we've had a smaller amounts from in the past, and because of their change of the way their funding has cut us out as well. So the only source where we can get big funding from now is the Trustlands Trust. The Trustlands Trust, the licensing trust.
Yes.
All the others are only we can get smaller amounts from.
Yeah, gosh, it's getting tough.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We do a lot of our own fundraising, as you're probably aware. We have open days in July in collaboration with the Council Village. Yeah, we put an enormous amount of time, hours into fundraising. Yeah.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you, Graham. That's helpful. I sense there are no more questions from the committee. So again, thank you, Graham, for personalising the application. I appreciate that. And obviously, we've got some considerations to do. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Robin.
Actually, next on the list is John. Okay. Sure. Okay, okay, sorry about that. So Featherston Heritage Museum, we have John McDowell.
Welcome, John. Welcome to the meeting. And once you're settled, please, just a quick snapshot, please, of your application, and then I'll invite members. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm representing the Featherston Heritage Museum, which I'm sure some of you visited, but maybe not. So let me just explain why I think this is a unique museum. It's got 3 stories to tell. I think museums tell stories, I think, and we're good at that sort of thing through print, photographs, artifacts, whatever. We've got 3 distinct stories to tell of that museum here. The first one, it is a Featherston museum. So we have artifacts, documents, whatever, about the history of Featherston as a town and the wider areas. But most people don't, and for most museums, that's where it would stop. Okay, but we have 2 other stories to tell. And these are the stories that make us unique. The first one is the military training camp, which was built in the First World War, sorry, and just 2.5 kilometres up from Featherston. None of it exists anymore, of course. We tell the story about that camp. 60,000 men went through that camp during the World War I and trained in that camp before going overseas to fight. 60,000 men. At any one time, usually 6,000 men were there getting trained. And this is a time when Featherston's population was something like 700 people. An amazing thing. We've got lots of artifacts there. Tell that story. The other story is the Second World, same camp, and this time it was a Japanese war camp. Most people don't even know that we had Japanese prisoners of war at all, or even about the camp. We have one of the largest collections of Japanese artwork in that museum. It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, please come along and look at it. It's phenomenal. And we tell the stories warts and all, because there was an incident there. Recall the incident, whatever, where 48 Japanese soldiers and 1 Kiwi soldier or guard were killed. We tell that story. And we're good at telling that story. So what we're trying to do now is, because we're run entirely by volunteers, okay, who are a little bit older and getting older. And one of the good things about getting old is that some of them are now retirees. What that means is that instead of just opening on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, we can theoretically open during the week. Now that gives us the possibility of capturing groups that we would never have had before. And I'm particularly thinking about school groups, because the museum wants to tell the stories to the schools. They know nothing about this at all. That's been clear. And we're talking to school pupils, college students, but they know nothing about that. So we started doing that, and it's working really well. So yes, now the council has generously backed us financially previously, and we would like them to continue to do that if that's going to be possible. So really, that's what I want to say. Just this is a unique part of Featherston, and it's, in fact, it's for the country as well, not just Featherston. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and appreciate that. That's tremendous. Do we have questions for John, please, about the museum and the application? Yes, Nerida.
Chair, morena tātai, o morena e kia koe. My name's Nerida Hooper and I'm an old Featherston person. Also, I've watched that museum and I'm not very familiar with the whakapapa and history of the war camps. So you talked about being able to open up weekdays and have someone obviously to man that to be able to tell the stories, and that you'd be interested in having small groups come through, etc. So have you in alignment started working with tourist groups or bus groups or reached out to where that business might come from?
No, we haven't. And that was one of our problems, I think. But now we are able to do that. And the other thing we want to do, I should have mentioned, sorry, is to upgrade our web page, because that's one of the things that is going to be very helpful. At the moment, it's minimalist, but it costs money to do that. And that's exactly what we want to do. Yeah.
To do that in parallel.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nerida. Other questions, folk? John, how many volunteers would be associated with the museum out of interest from the Featherston community? You may well have volunteers from elsewhere, of course, that's the nature of good museums, but you know, the Featherston community, how many involved?
Yeah, there's about 10 of us. They're all Featherstonians.
Brilliant. Okay, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
More questions doesn't appear, John. Thank you for that, and thank you for personalising the application. I'm always appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy?
Access Radio Wairarapa Charitable Trust, we've got Michael Wilson on Zoom. Access Radio. Michael, if you could unmute and show us your face.
Lucy Cooper.
Hello.
Access Radio. I thought she was. She not.
So Michael, can you hear us? Can you see? Michael Wilson, can you hear us? Can you unmute and turn your camera on for us? Oh, nope. Should we keep going? Oh no, there he is. Oh no, that's someone else joining. Okay. Yeah.
Look, Robin, we will move on. I just wonder if you could somebody just make exit? Can somebody make a call through to Access Radio to see whether that's possible? Oh, we've got Marina here.
Rushing in.
My computer would not let me unmute or have the video, so I'm sorry about that. Bit of a panic for a while.
Well, Michael, welcome to the meeting. I'm not certain. By the way, Bruce Robertson, I'm the chair of the committee.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I don't know whether you've been able to follow the meeting, but we have a small 5-minute slot just for Access Radio to talk through its application. Perhaps you just give us the very short nutshell within that 5 minutes of the application, so that I can invite my members to ask you questions if they have any. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, well, we're Wairarapa's only access media station. I say media because we podcast and do visuals as well as audio for many of our programs. We're the only way for community organisations, cultural groups, service providers to gain regular, sustained access to mainstream audiences. Through our diverse programming, we promote inclusivity and tolerance and make the idea that they are us a way of living all of our lives. We're committed to providing access throughout the region, and so we maintain a portable remote service in South Wairarapa. We're one of 12 access stations in Aotearoa that various governments have considered important enough to support financially and monitor closely to ensure we deserve that support. So we write quarterly reports to New Zealand On Air. But they also believe that as we deliver essentially regional services, some of that support should be provided regionally, which is why we appeal to you to increase the level of your support as we increase the level of the service that we provide to your district. And we've provided that service for the last 24 years in one way or another, and conducted remote recording clinics in Greytown, Featherston and Martinborough for much of that time. We're committed to reducing the effects of isolation, and our portable recording service means that travelling to our station base in Masterton is unnecessary. Marina visits each of the South Wairarapa program makers at their own locations, frequently their homes, and Veronica also travels to St. Teresa's School for the Live Wires series. No other access station in the country provides this level of flexibility. The portable equipment we use ensures high quality recordings. All of the program makers need to do is prepare their content and turn up. We believe in the social value of this service to the extent that we continue to operate at disproportionate cost to ensure that no needy organisation or individual is excluded. Further to that, we spend time and resources in identifying needful community groups who may not be aware of how they can benefit and how user-friendly the whole thing is. We'd like to meet with members of the council actually to see if they can help put us in touch with new migrants, iwi representatives, service providers. In particular, we acknowledge the special relationship we have as Tangata Tiriti. We've met with Rangatira in Masterton to broker an even closer partnership than we've had previously, and we'd appreciate your guidance and your contacts on how to begin this mahi in your region. But hey, we also need the money. We allocate a large chunk of our budget to maintaining our presence in South Wairarapa, and we'd like to keep doing that and to extend and enhance our services, hence this application. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's a very succinct presentation. I appreciate that. Members, do we have questions for Michael, please?
I have one, Bruce.
Yes, sorry. I need to get back to the screen where I can see the council. Sorry, was that you, Colin? Appreciate that. I also know I've got Rebecca online as well, and Rebecca, you've got a question after Colin.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for your presentation. I'm just wondering, Access Radio has operated in the South Wairarapa, as you've said, for a number of years, and has captured a specific number of our community with regular listeners, obviously. I'm just wondering how you've measured your performance as an Access Radio station, for instance, in terms of listeners in this current environment, and how many people, have you been able to assess that or gauge that in any way, shape or form?
That's always the thorny question. As far as people listening to the broadcast, that would require a survey. We acknowledge commercial stations get the bigger proportion of potential listeners. I think it was the one in Kurupuni that did a survey once, and we appeared quite high, about 5% of the full population listening to us, but we take that with a grain of salt. We are niche audiences in that if the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who do their program in both English and Urdu, reach their people and also perhaps some of the general public, then it's doing its job. We can access internet-based stuff because we do podcasting, etc. We have regular access to those, but again, that's also includes, how many people in Kazakhstan accidentally clicked on our site. I don't want to discount those things, but our measure is you could say a social return on investment rather than this many thousands of people.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate that. Look, and thank you, Michael. Rebecca is online, Amy, and I think Rebecca may have a question. If we could just check, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't get my camera to work for some reason today, but it's currently no one behind me. Hi, everybody. I appreciate I'm not a member of this committee. I'm just ringing in as a member of the council, mostly just to add a bit of weight to the presentation that you've just heard for a number of reasons. But from I think from an emergency management point of view, I think it's very important that we help facilitate and help fund maintaining public access radio in our region. And then, yeah, just very coincidentally, I was invited to come and read a poem on Arrow FM as part of what would have been Janet Frame's 100th birthday year this year. There's a beautiful thing that the organisation has put together, and as part of that, Michael was able to let me into just how many important corners of our community that this radio station reaches. And so I think, you know, to tie it back to our 4 well-beings that are important to our council, I think it's very, very important service for us to continue to maintain. But that's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rebecca. Can I just mention that during COVID, when for the first time in my life I was deemed a can't remember the word, essential worker. I came in every day to manage the various COVID advisories that came through. The Marsden District Council used us and were able to access our studio remotely. So they sent through, Lynn did lots of almost daily messages. So yes, we do have a function there. It's one that mostly I think it would be a matter of allowing councils to be able to deliver localized messaging to the public through our place. The Janet Frame thing is an example of how we do things for other organizations. So that was a Wairarapa Word initiative. And yeah, 100 poems, it's a lot to record, and we're playing them 1 a day for 100 days.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Look, I just, Rebecca, just want to record the fact, Amy, in the minutes, that Rebecca appeared in support of this particular application. I want to reflect that Rebecca is not part of the decision-making process of this committee, and clearly, given the support, she can't be. So if I just note that, and Rebecca, thank you again for your input here. Are there any other questions folk would like to raise with Michael?
Bruce, today? Hey, Macaulay, could Kay have a question?
Yes, go, Kay. Sorry, yes, I just didn't, the screen hadn't come back to you, so I realised I had the hand up, Kay. Sorry, go for it.
Thank you for that presentation. Now, this is a bit of a dumb but important question for me. In terms of an emergency, you know, basically your fallout infrastructure in terms of communications and everything is down. Just technically, how are you with your bring up the generator, keep the radio going?
You were dropping out a bit, but I think I get the general idea there.
Yeah, everybody's down and power's down, sort of thing. Can you keep generating?
Yeah, I still can't hear, but that's all right. I think I get the general gist of what you're saying. We, because we have automated systems here, which automatically records everything that's done in the studio, and also we have methods of being able to contact the studio remotely. It does mean that it's quite possible for councillors to or whoever, civil defence or whatever, to have live messaging, but also if they provide us with a number of messages that are appropriate to specific types of disaster or whatever needs to be notified, then we can switch to something like a disaster program on our scheduling computer, which would favour those messages over anything else. So we hesitate to say that we would necessarily be physically occupying the space in the case of an emergency, especially an earthquake, because we are in an earthquake-prone building. But so long as we have power and internet, then we're always able to contribute remotely.
All right, sorry, actually. Okay.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions for Michael?
Sorry, could I just add on that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thanks.
I've found some technology. But you're saying if the power's down, you haven't got a generator or something like that, so you can't project sound. You can't put out announcements if the power's down. Is that what you're saying?
We have all the wiring in there for getting a generator, but we have to really assess the cost of that balanced against, for example, if the power's going, but there's an internet outage, it doesn't even need to be our internet outage, it could be the providers, then that's out too. Well, no, live radio would still be okay. But if we're trying to access it from outside, we would need internet to get in. So even if we solve the power problem, there might be that. But as far as pre-recorded messaging that we would switch to, that would be a simpler matter. And so long as we were transmitting, we could continue to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Michael? Michael, thank you for your time. Well done on the connection and even using Marina's computer. That's great that you could personalise the application, and obviously we'll go into a process once we've heard from the other applicants. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Robin, I'm conscious, I think I'm about one presentation behind, so we're doing well, but if we could keep ourselves moving, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so from the Greytown Junior Football Club, Steve Carlin. Yeah, we are a little bit.
Hello, folks. Good. How are you?
Please don't feel rushed, Steve. I'm very keen that we hear your application as well, but if you can give us the nutshell of it, as I've said to the other speakers, so I can give my members have a chance to ask some questions. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. So I'm here on behalf of the Greytown Junior Football Club. I've got a few photos here. I was hoping we might be able to have a slideshow technology, but we don't, I don't think. But just to give you an idea of what we do, there's some photos you rock with. So we're applying for some funds for equipment. Just to put you in the picture of where we're at as a club. We've got a very proactive and thriving committee, and we have done for a few years now. And we've sought to expand our offerings to the community over the last few years. And so now where we're at as a club, we have our regular Saturday football offering, and that's run by volunteers, mums and dads, coaches, community volunteers. And we have about 160 kids every year signing up for that. Outside of that, we now implement a number of programs throughout the community on a regional basis. So we are no longer just a Greytown club. We offer school holiday programs every school holidays. We offer, we've established and have been running for a few years now a skills centre on a Monday afternoon, and that has been so successful that we've actually partnered up with the Wellington Phoenix academy structure. Now, just to be clear, we don't receive any funding from the Wellington Phoenix for that. In fact, we pay them for their intellectual property, actually, for their training sessions and their coaching support. So we pay money to them. However, we get the benefit of their structure and their training and their intellectual property. And we're one step away from that skills centre being New Zealand football accredited. So once we hit that, will be a proud moment for the club, I think. That skills centre is open to all children around the entire Wairarapa. It is patronised, I guess, largely by Greytown kids because we're based, but we have a lot of children from Martinborough and Featherston, South Wairarapa in particular. We were chosen by New Zealand Football to be a regional hub for their all-girls skills centre called Fantails. So on the back of the Women's World Cup that was here last year, which was a massive success, on the back of that, New Zealand Football implemented an all-girls skills centre in order to capitalise on that, and we were chosen as a hub. That has been massively successful as well in terms of getting girls along without having boys there, you know, who are physically bigger and, you know, push the girls around. And there is research to say that girls actually thrive in a girls-only space, in football at least. And my daughter is an example of this, where she went to play a Saturday game of football in a mixed team. She hated it. She was overwhelmed. She had a meltdown, and she hasn't been near a football pitch until Fantails came along. And now we are seeing some of the girls from Fantails go back into Saturday football this season because they have their confidence up now and go, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, which is just huge. Another thing we do is football in schools. We've been out in schools in the region. Actually, this term we've been to South Featherston School, Greytown School. We've been up to Casterton, Masterton schools. This is partly funded by Capital Football, who are very supportive. And another thing we're doing is coach education sessions, where we, as a club, coach the coaches. We go, and mum and dads have gone, hey, we don't know what we're doing, but we're expected, or we want to volunteer, but I've never coached football. I don't know what I'm doing. So we as a club go in and go, okay, here's what you do. Here's some resources, here's some cones and balls and some things. We've got some session plans here for you. Here you go. And what it does is it enables those mum and dad coaches to feel confident and empowered that they can deliver a session which is most beneficial for the kids, which is what it's all about. And therefore we get a far better structured training for these kids, and the whole thing is a lot better. Now, from a funding perspective, some of the coaches are paid, and we do apply for funding and have received partial funding from other bodies for payment of those coaches, because the coaches, well, they need to be paid. They are qualified coaches, and it's too much to ask volunteers to do that. However, that's not totally covered. We do charge fees, obviously, for our programs, but we have a philosophy where we keep our fees as low as possible, because we know, obviously, cost of living. And myself and the president of the club ourselves came from very humble beginnings, and football has been a thread that's run through our lives and has given us that social cohesion. It's given us friends for life. It's given us health and all those benefits. So having access to sport, not just football, but in our case football, we see as crucial, and that is an ethos that runs through our club. So we keep our fees very low. And as an example, our skills centre, we have a rolling scale where for an 8-week term, you can pay $50 or you can pay up to $80 depending on your family circumstances. As a comparison, Karori in Wellington charge $330 a term.
A term?
A term. They do have 2 trainings a week. We have 1. So if you cut that in half, what's that, $165. We charge $50 or up to $80. That does not cover the cost of our coaches, let alone equipment. So what I'm saying is we've become quite a big operation, and we're really proud of that, because we're a regional club now, South Wairarapa and the whole of the Wairarapa. And so we've become a large operation, and therefore, the scale of the thing is growing. So in terms of equipment, there's a high attrition rate with equipment. Balls and cones in particular last about 1 season, maybe 2, and they get an absolute hammering. So in order for us to continue to make these offerings to the the community. We just need the equipment to be able to do that. So I think what I've applied for is a reasonably modest total, I think, but that would get us some equipment to enable us to keep operating and offering our programs.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Steve?
For you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Just in terms of where you currently play, is it Kurrawilli Street or is it?
Yes, Soldier.
So how much support does council provide your club at this particular point in time in terms of the grounds and the fields that you play on, etc.?
Financial support? Or?
No, the physical support of the amenity that you used. So you have a soccer field or a football field.
Yep.
So is that marked out by the club? Is that mowed by the club?
City Care do the mow.
That's council, which is the contractor. Yeah.
We do the marking.
Yep.
And we have to pay for the paint, which is a couple of grand a year. Line paint.
Yep.
And volunteers do the marking.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, Steve? Steve, thank you for that, for your fulsome presentation. That's been very helpful to understand.
Thank you.
The nature of the application. So I appreciate that. And I think you brought some photos, so well done as well. That's great. Thank you for your time.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, great. Yes, please.
Keep getting mixed up with football. Soccer.
Oh,
We used to.
you there. We have another. Hello.
Sorry, Willie.
Okay, sorry, one more, and if the last one more. Application Trust, Wairarapa, Taurua, Central Hawke's Bay, on behalf of Robin, Cherry Campbell, Sean Tui. There we go.
Have you got me?
Sean. G'day, Sean. Can you hear me okay, Sean?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Sean. My name is Bruce Robertson. I'm the chair of the committee, and perhaps a bit like you, often zooming in from a car. So, look, great to have you. Great to have you here, Sean. We have allocated 5 minutes for a short chance for you to address the committee on your application. So I wonder if you just give us a short nutshell, about 3 minutes, perhaps, okay, because I'd like the committee to have a short chance in that 5 minutes to ask you a couple of clarification questions, please. In your hands, Sean.
Completely fine. I can do it in 30 seconds, but I'll take 3 minutes. So yeah, I'm representing Life Education Trust for Wairarapa, Taurua, Central Hawke's Bay. Our trust, and I think this is an important point to get out early because sometimes it's a misconception, we are reliant on 100% of the funds come from initiatives that we drive locally. There are no Life Ed handouts. There are no government handouts. And as per the application, a lot of where we seek funding, which roughly we need about 120K a year to run our program in this region. So last year we had 3,800 students at 33 schools. And those schools, by the way, are predominantly actually the Wairarapa schools and the Taurua schools, where for logistics reasons, we struggle sometimes to get up into the Central Hawke's Bay. But of that, the fundraising comes from grants, sponsorship, and of course, fundraising. And I think in our application, we're seeking $5,000 to go towards our operational costs. Those operational costs predominantly are our educator. So there's 7 of us trustees that sort of run behind the scenes as quickly as we can to generate the funds to support this. But the operational costs are specifically for, or predominantly for our educator. We do have other elements as well. But the program, and I think you're all probably aware of Life Education and the Healthy Harold program, but just to touch on it, we have a mobile classroom. We take it around to the schools. We
we complement the New Zealand curriculum for education. So what we do before we go to every school is we say, where are your gaps? What are you struggling with at school? And we'll have schools that come to us and say, look, we've got a real bullying problem, or we've got a real vaping problem, you know, or we've got a device problem, you know, whatever it might be, but we will tailor the program. We've got 43 modules, and we will tailor the program specifically for the schools. More recently, we developed a vaping workshop, and we've run that at a handful of schools, but the feedback on that vaping workshop is that it was pretty heavy hitting in an age appropriate manner, but it was pretty heavy hitting in terms of getting kids to understand that, have that, you know, for want of a better term, that holy crap moment that goes, actually, this isn't good for me, and I need to pull the pin. So we do adapt as we go. Look, you know, it's about creating resilient kids. It's a focus on looking at substance abuse, looking at child obesity, looking at just mental health and well-being, and making sure that these kids have the tools in their toolkit, because we can't always rely on the parents to do it for them. And that's the Healthy Harold program. I'll hand back for questions. Is that okay?
That's very helpful, Sean. Thank you for that and the clarification expansion. Just before I pass, can you just remind me the extent of your work in the South Wairarapa?
Yeah, so we have, as I said, we did 33 schools last year, and I think so what happens is that typically we hit schools either annually or biannually. Some schools ask for a visit every second year, and that's really a budgeting thing. The way that it works with the schools is that they pay a third of the cost, and we subsidise 2/3 of the cost. So that's part of our fundraising. So they typically pay about $7 per student. In the South Wairarapa, we hit all of the schools, I believe, except for Ponatahi Christian School, who we've tried to get into, but we tend to struggle there. Outside of South Wairarapa, we have missed Carterton for a few years, but that's just been an ongoing kind of desire to get in there, but unwillingness to kind of take it forward. So it's pretty extensive in the South Wairarapa district.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Sean. Members, do we have other questions for Sean, please? Right. I think, Sean, that feels like you've given us a fairly good snapshot, and indeed the clarification of your funding position, and actually this application is essentially to meet operational needs, which is particularly enabling your educator in particular to be able to provide the ongoing support to the schools in the way that you've outlined. So that's superb. Sean, thank you for that. It is the time we've allocated to hear from the Life Education Trust. So very grateful, even through these circumstances, to be able to hear from them. Thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Right. See you, Sean.
Is anyone else voting? So, okay. This is actually the last speaker. The Wairarapa Sports Artificial Surface Trust.
Sorry, Robin, you were very hard to hear. I'm sorry, I haven't heard the name of our next presenter, sorry.
Sorry, this is from Wairarapa Sports Artificial Surface Trust, Cherie Poyton.
Brilliant. Welcome to the meeting. I think you probably, if you've been in the back, you've probably seen the nature of the approach. So welcome for your short comments before I open it up. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora, ko Cherie Takalunga. So my name is Cherie. I'm here representing the, such a mouthful, Wairarapa Sports Artificial Surface Trust, and I'm also president of Hockey Wairarapa. What we are here for today is to ask for support to fund our installation of new LED lights on our southern turf. We are going through a massive revitalisation of our facility at Clearville, so we're actually installing a turf as well, which is $500,000. The lights are just shy of 140 for us to install. Hockey is a massive sport in the Wairarapa, as I'm sure you're all aware. And South Wairarapa actually hits well above numbers across the region with Featherston Club, Kia Kaha here in Greytown and Martinborough. we have on just shy of 2,000 players, umpires, officials, managers, coaches coming to our facility every week. And then that's not counting the whānau that come to watch. So we estimate there is around 4,000 people 7 days a week coming through that facility. And we're a winter sport, so obviously lights are essential. So we have players playing through till 7 o'clock at night, and then we have training. So if we don't have lighting, we don't get to use the turf. So that's kind of why we're here, to say we really love some support. Building off the question asked to football, obviously the turf facilities are owned by the Wairarapa Sports Artificial Surfaces Trust. We lease them onto Hockey Wairarapa, and in turn the other way we lease the land from AMP. So we don't actually get any funding from any of the councils for our facilities. So we fund that through usage fees, so turf hire and funding like this to upgrade our facilities.
Excellent.
Thank
you, Sheree. So this is for a capital project, as you said, the conversion to LED lighting and a contribution to $140,000 program. I get that. So do you have questions for Sheree, please?
Okay.
Yes, Nerita.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this is the new project of the third tier, because I remember years ago that was always the projection to have a third tier.
No, so we are not having a third turf put down, so we're replacing. So turfs have a 10-year lifespan. The northern turf, which we've been replacing, was supposed to be replaced in 2019. 2020 happened to everybody. So we're actually 4 years behind on that, and so the southern turf is 2 years' time. So preempting this, we'll be back in 2 years. But yeah, the lights are on our southern turf. So we're up to turf. So the southern turf is being replaced, and that'll be the third turf on that site. But no, we're not. We can't afford to put a third turf in. That would be used. Maybe thinking of a half turf in the future, but doesn't mean we can't run as many of the bigger tournaments. But you know, we've got 24 girls teams coming for secondary school tournament week, so they'll be spread everywhere.
And the lighting's LED lighting, so
yeah, and so the LED will save heaps of money too.
Yeah. So that's dark sky approved.
Yes, it is. So we require everybody to finish by 10 p.m. and we specifically designed them. So working with our suppliers to make sure that they would be appropriate for the space.
Excellent. Any other questions for Sheree, please? There being none, look, thank you, Sheree, again for, as with the other presenters, personalising your presentation. I appreciate that, and thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, and getting back up to a tournament.
There you go.
Thank you.
Apologies, Chair Committee, and we've got one more person. So from the Greytown Heritage Trust, Carmel Ferguson. And we just realised it's on Zoom.
Right, thank you. So Carmel, I think, is she joining us by way of Zoom? Is she, Robin?
So if Carmel could unmute and turn your camera on, then we can talk to you. Hello.
Showing that.
Here we go.
Just put that on too. Okay, can you hear me?
Hello, Carmel. Bruce Robertson here. I'm the chair of the committee. We can hear you but can't see you. Is your video not working today?
I'm unsure about that. I thought I clicked on that, so
problem today.
Well, look, Carmel, no big drama.
Yeah.
If you can't see me, you're probably happy. But
I can see. No, I can see you actually.
Carmel, look, key thing is thank you for being here and a chance to speak to your application. If you've been listening in on the process, we'd like you to give us a very short summary, perhaps the best 3 minutes, and I'll ask members of the committee to ask clarifying questions before we start deliberating on all the applications. So if you would like to just give us a quick snapshot, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so the Greytown Heritage Trust, own the Kuka Cottage in Stellable Park. We lease the land from the council, and the Kuka Cottage was a donation from Stellable, and the trust purchased it for $1 about 30 years ago, and in a very derelict state. And over the years, it's been, upgraded to a space that can be used for retail, and it is the only funding or income that the trust receives, any rental that we get from that. The bathroom facilities are in a dire strait, and we have been investigating and have got some costings, and we are looking to upgrade the toilet area. It's not a bathroom, it's just a toilet, actually. And we've had Rigzoki give us a quote for that. It requires a lot of remodeling and probably removal of some of the additions that was put on in the 50s. So what we've put in an application for $1,000 because we're funding towards that. Everything that we can do to actually just make it a lot more habitable in that department. At the moment, we've got a tenant there, and she's very understanding of the situation that we have, and basically that's our request.
Thank you for that, Carmel. That's very
I'm presuming
helpful.
everyone knows about the Heritage Trust. I don't need to explain that.
No, thank you. Well, look, I'll have the members can if they want to ask questions about the trust itself, but you've explained clearly the nature of the $1,000 and what's it's going towards. Members, do we have questions for Carmel, please? It appears as though there's none, Carmel. So look. Oh, sorry, Martin.
Through you, Chair. Carmel, hi, Martin Bosley.
Hi, Martin.
Hi. The tenant that's in there, that they're paying rent, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And how much are they contributing annually?
I think they pay about $200 a week.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Carmel? Look, none, Carmel. Thank you for coming in online. That's always tremendous.
Yes.
It's the way we do business as I am today as well. So thank you.
That's
Appreciate
good.
your
Thank
time
you.
this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Bye.
Truly, that is all of our presenters. Thank you.
Julie Lewis, was she not presenting from
No, she wasn't able to come.
Ferrum Community?
Yep. So we've got the paper.
Yeah.
So if I've got it correct, Robin, there are, with the applications that are in front of us, we haven't had one from Future Leaders, and we haven't had one from the House of Science, correct?
So the Future Leaders, I've asked them and they said they didn't want to present. And the House of Science had a scheduling issue, so they weren't able to present.
Right. Okay.
And same with this.
That's fine.
And we have we have a 14th applicant, Ferrum Creative Space Trust. You should have had an email about that yesterday. They also had been able to manage their schedule, present either.
Right. Sorry. Yes, that was a late application. Sorry.
So that was a clerical late application.
As in, we knew about it, but we didn't get them on the list.
Yeah, they were in my head. They were for Featherston Community Board. So they talked about going to the Featherston Community Board to present, and then I didn't double check the application. So that's my fault.
Look, thank you for that. I wasn't trying to put you totally on the spot. So look, their application is for what, $2,850, is that right?
It is, yes, that's right.
Yeah, and
Sorry, how much was that amount?
2850.
2850, thank you, sir. It's just not in the total amount.
It's for workshops, as I take it, if I've got it correct.
Right,
from
so it's the total cost of the two on the front. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So, members, I think I heard in the talk we've said about in the meeting, this is a challenging little meeting given the worthy applicants we've all had, and I am deeply appreciative of all the applications, and I suspect with a magic wand I'd like to pay everything, but we don't have that luxury. Robin, I think the first thing that I'd just like to check in terms of your process, and I understand I made this inquiry prior, but for the benefit of the committee, you have and your colleagues have reviewed all the applications, and from your assessment against our policy, they are all valid applications for us to consider.
Yeah, so I have all of their, for those who've had funding before, I have all of their accountability returns will come in. I haven't provided them all to the committee because they're for previous projects. So, and the forms are all complete, and where it hasn't been complete, I've worked with them to fill in the gaps. So all the questions have been answered.
Well, thank you for your work. It's important that we have in front of us valid applications, but I also appreciate that we want to make it easier for our people to apply. So if you've done work to get the applications here, that's great. So in fact, that leaves us then with an approach. Now, look, I must confess, this is my first of your grant meetings. Colin, I'm conscious that probably you've got the run-through IP on this. This is probably an uncommon position that we find ourselves in. Is there an approach that South Wairarapa have taken in the past in relationship to considering a quantum where we've got it's a wee bit high now, but roughly $75,000 with $30,000 in the bank to give away?
So it's not unusual to be oversubscribed for any grant applications that come through, and often we have to look carefully at every applicant, the benefits obviously that flow back into our community. And what I'd suggest we do is probably take a couple of minutes, but we do need to go through the current applications and give some, I guess, weighting towards eligibility, whether it's a part of their request or whether it's the full of their request. Obviously, it's a conversation that we need to have as we work through them.
Right, brilliant. Well, look, it's you said a couple of minutes. I'll give you 3. It's nearly 10:30. So why don't we just take a break for 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and gives you a chance to check your phones and then be back. But please, no longer than the 3 or 4 minutes.
You're doing what I just did.